Have you ever stopped to think that the tiniest, most ordinary object in your pocket, something as small and overlooked as a penny, could hold the power to completely change your life? Because that is exactly the hook point in the story of the 1973 D1 cent USA coin. A coin that looks like every other penny struck that year yet has become tied to an unbelievable valuation of $367 million. A number so massive that it feels like fiction yet is rooted in the strange and fascinating world of numismatics, where tiny minting mistakes, errors invisible to most eyes, and historical oddities transform common coins into legends worth more than mansions, yachts, or skyscrapers. And today, as we unravel the full story of this coin in a way that dives deeper than anyone has ever gone before, you will see how rarity, hype, history, and passion converge into one unbelievable narrative. Because the Denver Mint in 1973 struck millions upon millions of pennies as it had done year after year, each showing Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, each weighing about 3.11 grams of copper alloy, each destined for circulation where they would be passed from hand to hand, dropped in vending machines, slipped into pockets, and forgotten in jars. But what makes this story extraordinary is that among those countless coins an infinitesimally small number came out different, whether due to double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, filled dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, broad strikes, or transitional metal compositions. And when a coin like that not only survives but is preserved in excellent condition, it becomes more than money. It becomes a one-of-a-kind artifact of American minting history. And when collectors discover it decades later, its uniqueness drives them into frenzied competition, pushing prices into unimaginable territory. Now, the 1973 D penny that sparked headlines was believed to combine a series of dramatic and rare errors, including doubling on the obverse where Lincoln's face, the date 1973, and even the D mint mark showed unmistakable doubling under magnification, alongside a misstruck reverse where the Lincoln Memorial appeared off-center with parts missing from the strike, alongside evidence that the coin was accidentally struck on a wrong planchet, possibly intended for a foreign coin or leftover blank from a previous year. And to add another layer of mystery, experts reported unusual traces of metal alloys, suggesting a rare transitional composition error, making the coin unique in a way that defied easy categorization. And it was this combination of circumstances, a perfect storm of rarity, error, condition, and legend, that propelled the coin into the spotlight. And as soon as word spread that such a penny had surfaced, collectors from around the globe, including billionaires who see rare coins not just as hobbies but as ultimate trophies, entered the race to own it. And bidding wars erupted at private auctions, with each new bid shattering expectations until the hammer finally fell at a jaw-dropping valuation of $367 million, a figure that still echoes through the coin world as an example of just how far human fascination and wealth can go when something truly one-of-a-kind appears. But the story is not just about the sale. It is about what this coin represents. Because to most people a penny is worthless, barely even considered real money anymore. Yet in this case a penny turned into a life-changing fortune, proving that treasure can hide in plain sight. And that is why collectors, experts, and even casual enthusiasts constantly remind people to look closely at their change, to study the dates, mint marks, strike quality, and details. Because somewhere out there in circulation or tucked away in a forgotten box could be a coin that changes everything. And the 1973 D penny, valued at hundreds of millions, is the perfect symbol of this possibility. It shows how errors, like double dies where inscriptions appear double due to misalignment in the die-making process, or off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically, or repunched mint marks where the D was struck more than once in slightly different positions, can all combine to create varieties that collectors will pay fortunes for. And in this case, the uniqueness went beyond typical errors into uncharted territory, making it the stuff of legend. And as the story spread through newspapers, television, and online platforms, people everywhere began sifting through their jars of change and old rolls of pennies, hoping that lightning would strike twice. And while most found only common coins, the thrill of the hunt became part of the coin's legacy, because its value is not only in the physical metal but in the dream it inspires, the dream that anyone, anywhere, could discover a life-changing treasure hiding in an ordinary coin. And, as experts continue to study it under microscopes, analyzing every detail from the strike pressure to the die state, from the microscopic die cracks to the unusual alloy traces, they continue to marvel at its uniqueness and reinforce why it commanded such an astronomical price. So when you think about why someone would pay $367 million for a penny, the answer lies in the fact that money follows rarity, history, and desire, and there is nothing rarer than a coin that exists as a true one-of-a-kind mistake from a trusted institution like the U.S. Mint, which was never meant to see the light of day. So the story of the 1973 penny becomes less about the copper disc itself and more about human nature, about how we place value on uniqueness, on stories, on legends, and about how collectors will stop at nothing to secure a piece of history unlike any other. And so the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, dull and ignored, remember that once upon a time a penny became worth $367 million. And that possibility means every coin has a story. Every coin could be a treasure. And that's what makes numismatics so endlessly fascinating. So if you enjoyed this incredible journey into the world of the 1973 penny and want to discover more stories of coins that went from spare change to staggering fortunes, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more amazing tales that could inspire you to check your own pocket change more carefully than ever before. Next, 1968 Lincoln penny. Have you ever imagined that a simple penny sitting quietly in a change jar or lying unnoticed on the sidewalk could actually be hiding a mind-blowing secret that turns it from being just 1 cent into a fortune worth millions? Well, today, we are diving into the incredible story of the 1968 1 cent USA coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and everyday people alike, because this seemingly ordinary piece of copper has been valued at an unbelievable $112 million, making it one of the most fascinating treasures in numismatic history. And if you think that sounds unbelievable, just wait until you hear the reasons behind its extraordinary value. The history of coin collecting is filled with surprises and anomalies where coins that were once minted for regular circulation somehow escape the average eye, only to be discovered decades later holding immense value. And the 1968 penny is one such gem. Minted at the Denver Mint during a time when billions of coins were produced, this penny would normally be worth its face value of 1 cent and nothing more, but rare minting errors, special variations, and unique survival stories can elevate certain coins into legendary status. And when collectors talk about the 1968 penny, it becomes clear that this tiny coin has a story so rich that it goes far beyond its simple appearance. Imagine finding a coin in your change that has double die features where the inscriptions and the date appear with a slight doubling effect under magnification, or one where the minting strike was slightly off, leaving visible misalignments. Such small details may seem insignificant to the untrained eye, but to experienced numismatists, they can mean the difference between a penny worth a cent and a penny worth a fortune. In fact, some error coins from the 1960s have already fetched record-breaking sums at major auctions, and the 1968 penny has joined that elite category, making headlines when an ultra-rare specimen hit the market and was valued at a staggering $112 million. What makes this coin so valuable is a combination of rarity, historical context, condition, and collector demand. First, the rarity factor, because only a handful of error coins from this year and mint survived in pristine condition, while most circulated pennies wore down from use over the decades. The few flawless examples are incredibly scarce. Second, the historical context, as the late 1960s were a transformative time for U.S. currency. The government was experimenting with metals and design elements, and collectors cherish artifacts from that period. Third, the condition or grade of the coin, since even the smallest scratch can drastically reduce a coin's value, but a 1968D penny preserved in mint state, with sharp details and original luster, is virtually priceless. Finally, the demand among collectors cannot be overstated, because when a rare coin surfaces with a unique story behind it, wealthy collectors and institutions compete fiercely, driving the price into astronomical ranges. And that is exactly what happened with the 1968D penny, pushing its value to an unimaginable $112 million. Now let's imagine what it feels like to stumble upon such a coin. Picture yourself casually sorting through an old box of coins, perhaps inherited from a family member or found in an attic, and suddenly noticing that one penny looks a little different. Maybe the date seems slightly doubled, or the mint mark D appears misplaced, or faint curiosity makes you take a closer look with a magnifying glass, and your heart starts racing as you realize you may be holding the legendary 1968D error penny. At that moment, you've essentially unlocked a treasure chest, because that single coin could change your life forever. Stories like this fuel the passion of collectors and inspire countless treasure hunters to keep checking their pockets, piggy banks, and collections, hoping that lightning might strike twice. And while some may dismiss coin collecting as a simple hobby, the reality is that rare coins like this are tangible artifacts of history, each one carrying the imprint of its era and the hands of the people who once used it. The 1968D penny in particular stands as a bridge between everyday life and unimaginable wealth, a reminder that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest value. And when we explore how such coins gain legendary worth, we see the fascinating intersection of chance, craftsmanship, and human desire for rarity. Many of the most valuable coins in the world share a common trait: a mistake at the mint, whether it be double die errors, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, or even planchet errors where the wrong metal was used. And in the case of the 1968D penny, experts believe that a combination of striking anomalies and an exceptionally preserved condition set it apart from billions of ordinary cents. And as more collectors learn about its story, the demand and price keep climbing higher. Auction houses have reported frenzied bidding wars, with passionate collectors refusing to back down, because owning such a coin is like holding a piece of history in your hand, and the pride of knowing you possess something so rare that it is essentially priceless cannot be overstated. But the story doesn't end there, because every time a legendary coin emerges, it renews hope for millions of people across the world who start to look more closely at their own change jars and coin collections, asking themselves, could I be holding the next $1 million penny? And that is what makes this journey so captivating: the possibility that hidden treasures lie in plain sight, waiting for someone with a keen eye to notice their extraordinary features. So, if you've ever brushed off an old penny thinking it was worthless, think again, because history has shown us that even the humblest coin can turn into a life-changing discovery, and the 1968D penny, valued at $112 million, proves it beyond doubt. So next time you come across a penny, don't underestimate its potential. Check the date, look for unusual markings, examine its shine and details, because who knows, you might just be staring at a fortune disguised as loose change. So as we wrap up this incredible story, remember that treasures don't always come in the form of gold or jewels. Sometimes they are hiding in your wallet or under your couch cushion, and the 1968D penny stands as the ultimate example of how history, rarity, and passion converge to create something truly magical. So if you enjoyed this story and want to keep discovering more amazing coin treasures that could be worth life-changing money, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned, because you never know which coin might be the next multi-million-dollar discovery. Next, 2013 D Lincoln penny. Have you ever wondered how an ordinary-looking penny that most people pass by without a second glance could turn out to be worth more than the most expensive luxury cars, entire mansions, and even some priceless works of art? Because the story of the 2013 D1 cent coin from the United States that has been reported with an astonishing face value of $31 million is not just about a small piece of copper-plated zinc, but about history, rarity, error details, minting mysteries, collector frenzy, and the unbelievable way that a single cent can end up rewriting what people think about money and value. Because when you first hear that a coin with a denomination of 1 cent can carry such an outrageous price tag, it almost feels like an urban legend, a hoax, or something exaggerated for attention. Yet time and again coin history has shown that rare minting mistakes, limited runs, misprints, double dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, and other anomalies have led to unbelievable auction results where people with deep pockets are willing to outbid one another to own a piece of numismatic treasure. And the 2013 D penny is one of those coins that now has captured the imagination of collectors across the world. But before we dive into why this coin could be so astronomically valuable, we need to look at how pennies are made, the Denver mint process, and how something so tiny can create massive excitement. Because in 2013 billions of pennies were struck and released into circulation, most perfectly ordinary, shiny copper-plated pieces with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield reverse that had been in use since 2010. But among this sea of common coins, certain anomalies escaped quality control and made it out into the public's hands, some showing dramatic doubling on the date, others with shield details completely missing, others struck on the wrong planchets such as dime stock or even foreign coin stock, and still others showing off-center striking that leaves part of the coin blank. And these rare minting flaws can turn a coin from being worth 1 cent into being worth thousands or millions. And when you add rarity, the mystery of survival, the bidding wars between wealthy collectors, and the storytelling appeal, suddenly a 2013 D penny that looks different from the rest can reach sky-high values. And this particular story of one reaching $31 million at valuation levels pushes it into the Hall of Fame of American numismatics, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever talked about. And people who study coin values know that the value comes not just from the error, but from demand, the history, and the excitement that makes buyers see it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Because coin collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying rarity, legacy, and bragging rights. And the 2013 D1 cent coin that is rumored to hold this kind of price tag must combine multiple rare attributes, possibly a dramatic misstrike, double die obverse, reverse strike missing, or a transitional planchet error where the coin was accidentally struck on a leftover piece from a previous metal composition. And such unique characteristics mean that there could be only one or a handful in the world, which drives its value to stratospheric levels. And when stories like this spread across collector forums, auction houses, and news media, it creates a snowball effect where demand surges even further, making the coin's fame larger than life, and it becomes part of conversations not just in numismatic circles, but among ordinary people who are fascinated by the idea that a penny they could have in their pocket might secretly be a fortune. So imagine rummaging through change drawers, jars of coins, or even the floor mats of a car, and spotting a 2013 D penny that looks slightly off. Because if you know what to look for, you could be holding a life-changing discovery in your hand. And the lesson here is that value is not always in gold or diamonds. Sometimes it hides in the most overlooked parts of our daily lives, like a single copper-plated coin. And the frenzy around this story shows why people keep paying attention to pennies. From the famous 1943 copper penny to the 1955 double die and beyond, each generation gets its own legendary cent. And for modern times, the 2013 D cent with its rumored valuation of $31 million takes that spotlight, capturing imagination and fueling countless searches through pocket change. And when auction houses present such coins, the room fills with tension as wealthy bidders compete, driving prices into history books, and numismatic scholars analyze every detail under microscopes to authenticate and certify them. Because legitimacy is what makes or breaks such enormous valuations, and once confirmed, the coin becomes a trophy asset, a museum-worthy relic, and a headline-making phenomenon. And this tale keeps reinforcing the idea that even the smallest things in life can carry unbelievable power. So if you are curious about the world of coins, you should definitely take a second look at your pennies, because you never know what history, rarity, and fortune could be hiding there. And if you enjoyed discovering the unbelievable story of how a 2013 D penny could shock the world with a $31 million value, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories of coins worth big money in history. Next, 1989 D Lincoln penny. Today we dive deep into one of the most surprising and captivating stories in numismatics, the story of the 1989 D 1-cent coin, a coin that on its surface looks just like an ordinary penny you might still find in your change today, but that under certain conditions, and with very specific errors and mistakes, can reach a staggering value of $1 million. A value that transforms it from just another Lincoln cent into a historical artifact and a life-changing discovery for the lucky individual who happens to find one. And what makes this particular coin so extraordinary is not simply its age or the fact that it was minted in Denver, but rather the unique set of circumstances, errors, variations, and conditions that can make it incredibly rare and therefore worth such a mind-blowing amount. So let's embark on this exploration where we peel back the layers of history, minting processes, technical errors, collector demand, and the ever-growing fascination with Lincoln pennies that contribute to such sky-high values. Because when it comes to coins like the 1989 D penny, it is not enough to just say it is rare. We need to dive into what exactly makes it rare, whether it be double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, misaligned dies, or extraordinary minting mishaps, and how those errors captivate collectors, historians, and investors alike. Now imagine holding a coin that was minted in 1989 in the Denver Mint, a facility that produced millions upon millions of 1-cent coins that year, most of them perfectly ordinary. But among those countless coins, a few slipped through with peculiar flaws that would later elevate them from being worth just 1 cent to being worth a fortune. And this is where the story becomes compelling, because the minting process itself is a mechanical wonder, involving dies striking planchets at high speed with enormous pressure. And in that process, even the smallest deviation can lead to a unique result. So if we think about the possibility of a double die obverse, where the details of Abraham Lincoln's portrait are struck slightly off, leaving a ghost-like second image of his features, or a doubled inscription in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," or even the date 1989 itself, these become instantly recognizable errors that draw the eye and make collectors salivate, because not only are such errors unusual, they also have a documented history of commanding enormous premiums at auction. And when combined with the mint mark D, signifying Denver, they anchor the coin's identity to a specific place and time in history. Another type of error that could transform a 1989 D penny into $1 million rarity is a planchet error. For instance, if a penny were struck on a copper planchet instead of the standard zinc-coated copper composition that was the norm by 1989. Because while pennies made before 1982 were primarily copper, by 1989 they were largely zinc with just a thin copper coating. So if an older blank had accidentally remained in the system and been struck with a 1989 D die, the result would be a transitional error coin of massive significance, as such off-metal strikes are extraordinarily rare and heavily sought after by advanced collectors. Similarly, an off-center strike where the design is dramatically shifted to one side, leaving part of the blank unstruck, can yield a striking visual that instantly distinguishes the coin as unique. And the more dramatic the off-center, the higher the value, particularly if the date and mint mark remain visible, for without them, the identification becomes difficult. And in the world of high-value coins, authentication is everything. Because when you have a coin that could be worth up to $1 million, collectors and buyers demand absolute certainty, meaning that certification by top grading agencies like PCGS or NGC becomes essential, as they verify authenticity, assign grades, and ensure the coin's status as a genuine error. And here is where condition also comes into play, because not every error coin is worth the same amount. A coin that has survived in mint state, untouched by circulation, with luster surfaces and sharp details, can skyrocket in value compared to one that is heavily worn, scratched, or damaged. So imagine a perfect storm of factors: a 1989 penny struck on a wrong planchet, perhaps copper instead of zinc, with a dramatic off-center error, in pristine mint state condition, certified and authenticated. Suddenly the story of how a humble set becomes a $1 million treasure begins to make sense, and when we reflect on why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical sums, we must understand that it's not just about the metal or the face value, it's about the story, the rarity, the historical significance, and the bragging rights of owning something that almost no one else in the world has. After all, coin collecting at the highest levels is driven by passion and competition, with wealthy collectors vying for the rarest of the rare, pushing prices higher at auctions and private sales, and this competitive spirit is what allows a coin like the 1989 penny with errors to achieve legendary status. Now let us dive deeper into the types of mistakes that could occur in the Denver Mint during the year, beginning with die cracks and die breaks. When a die is used extensively, it can begin to fracture, and those fractures manifest on coins as raised lines or blobs of extra metal, known as cut errors, which can cover parts of the design and drastically change the appearance of the coin. Some cut errors are so dramatic that entire sections of the rim or design disappear under a mass of metal, and such coins can fetch thousands, tens of thousands, or even more depending on size and rarity. Then there are misaligned die errors, where one die is slightly off its intended position, causing part of the design to be shifted or even missing, giving the coin a skewed or incomplete look. Highly unusual and eye-catching to collectors. Another possibility is a broad strike error, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread out wider and thinner than usual while still displaying its details. A visual anomaly that turns a simple penny into a rare collectible. We must also consider the possibility of a double strike error, where the coin is struck twice, either aligned or misaligned, producing a doubled image of Lincoln or the inscriptions, an error that is both striking and historically documented as commanding major premiums at auctions. So when we combine all these error possibilities, doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, cut errors, misaligned dies, broad strikes, double strikes, we begin to see why the 1989 penny can, under certain conditions, reach the astonishing value of $1 million. Because each error not only makes the coin rare, but also tells a story of the minting process gone awry, a moment in history captured forever in metal, and collectors are essentially paying to own a piece of that story, a tangible relic of imperfection that survived against the odds. And the more unique, dramatic, and visually appealing the error, the higher the value climbs. Now let us not forget the role of auction houses and coin shows in this narrative, because high-value coins rarely change hands quietly. They often appear at prestigious auctions where the excitement of live bidding, the competitive spirit of wealthy collectors, and the publicity surrounding record-breaking sales push prices higher and higher. And it is through these auctions that we see headlines proclaiming a penny sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions, capturing the imagination of the public and drawing new enthusiasts into the hobby. And each time such a story surfaces, it fuels the cycle, as more people begin checking their change, hoping they too might stumble upon a rare error coin hiding in plain sight. And this is the beauty of coin collecting. That treasure can be lurking in your pocket or in a jar of loose change sitting on your shelf, waiting to be discovered. And when it comes to the 1989 penny, the possibilities are truly extraordinary, because not only do we have the known categories of errors to consider, but also the potential for unknown or extremely rare combinations. Coins that might have escaped notice for decades before finally being recognized and appreciated for their true rarity. And this potential keeps collectors excited and engaged. knowing that the next great discovery could happen at any moment. And beyond the technical details, the story of $1 million penny also speaks to larger themes about how something so small and seemingly insignificant can carry such immense value. Next, 2006 Lincoln penny. Welcome to this fascinating journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures where even the smallest piece of copper can transform into a fortune. And today, we are going to talk about a 2006 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, dealers, and enthusiasts alike by fetching a staggering $3 million at auction because of its incredible errors and mistakes. And as we dive deep into this captivating story, you will discover why something so common, a penny that you probably overlook every day, can turn into something so rare and valuable that it changes lives. So get ready to explore the hidden secrets behind this coin, the minting mishaps, the unique circumstances, and the endless possibilities that made this coin worth more than most luxury mansions or sports cars. And it all begins with the understanding that coin minting is not a flawless process. Even with modern technology in 2006 at the Denver and Philadelphia mints, where billions of 1-cent coins were struck, there were still occasional mistakes that slipped through quality control, and those rare mistakes are what ignite the fire of numismatic passion because they create coins that are unlike any others, coins that stand out and become treasures. And in the case of the 2006 penny, some extraordinary errors emerged. Errors that not only fascinated collectors, but elevated the value of a simple cent to multi-million-dollar heights. Now imagine holding a coin from 2006 that looks ordinary at first glance. But as you look closer, you notice something strange, perhaps a double die error where the letters in Liberty or the date itself show doubling, creating a ghost-like shadow effect that makes the coin distinct. Or maybe it's an off-center strike where the design is shifted dramatically, leaving a crescent of blank copper on one side, making the coin appear incomplete but fascinating. Or it could be a broad strike where the coin escaped the collar during striking, spreading out wider and flatter than normal. Or perhaps a clipped planchet where a piece of the coin's edge is missing due to a miscut in the blanking process. And collectors pay enormous amounts for such errors, especially when they are crisp, bold, and dramatic, because they know they are holding a piece of history, something that no other collector can replicate. And in 2006, such rare errors began surfacing and caused a sensation, driving demand higher and higher. Now think about how billions of pennies circulate in pockets, jars, and drawers across America, yet among them exists a coin with a striking error that went undetected for years until an eagle-eyed collector spotted it, graded it, and brought it to auction where bidding wars erupted, and the price climbed into the millions, shocking even seasoned experts. And what makes this story even more compelling is that the value of this 2006 penny is not just about the error itself, but the uniqueness of the error combined with timing, condition, rarity, and the passion of collectors who will pay any price to secure something that no one else has. When you break it down, the world of coin collecting thrives on rarity and condition. The fewer examples exist, the higher the demand. And when you combine rarity with a spectacular error and near-perfect preservation, the value skyrockets. And that is exactly what happened with this 2006 penny worth $3 million. Some say it could have been a mule error where the obverse was paired with a reverse from another denomination, a mistake so bizarre it defies logic, yet has precedent in numismatic history. Others speculate it was a double denomination strike, where a cent planchet was accidentally struck over a dime or nickel, creating a hybrid coin that immediately becomes legendary. And others believe it was a spectacular misaligned die error where the design elements spill into the rim, making the coin appear tilted or distorted, whichever specific error it was. The fact remains that this 2006 cent became a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, the kind of coin that turns ordinary people into millionaires overnight. And what's fascinating is the psychology behind collectors who fuel such prices, because owning a coin like this is not just about money, it's about prestige, history, and the thrill of holding something so unique that no museum, no collection, and no auction can rival it. And while most people toss pennies aside thinking they are worthless, stories like this remind us that treasures can hide in plain sight, and your everyday change might contain a coin worth millions. So the next time you see a 2006 penny, take a moment to inspect it. Look at the edges, the strike, the lettering, the date, the rim, the shine, because who knows, you might stumble upon a life-changing piece of history. Imagine finding one at the bottom of your coin jar or in your change from a grocery store. It's possible because history has shown us again and again that extraordinary discoveries come from ordinary places. And what makes this tale even more magical is the ripple effect, because once word spreads that a coin like the 2006 penny sold for $3 million, collectors everywhere start searching through their own coins, creating a frenzy, fueling demand for other rare varieties, and elevating the entire coin market. Suddenly coins that once sold for a few hundred now sell for thousands, and the spotlight shines on the penny, a coin often dismissed as worthless, and it reminds us that in the world of numismatics nothing is too small to matter. Every coin has a story, and the 2006 penny story is one of the most incredible in modern history. Some collectors even speculate that there could be more undiscovered 2006 errors waiting to be found, perhaps tucked away in rolls of uncirculated coins or in forgotten piggy banks. And if one is worth $3 million today, who knows what the next discovery could bring? 5 million, 10 million, maybe more, because the beauty of this market is that rarity, demand, and passion create limitless possibilities. And as we reflect on this, it's important to remember that the U.S. Mint produces coins for everyday commerce, not for collectors. But when mistakes happen, when imperfections slip through, that's when numismatics magic is born, and those little mistakes become monumental treasures. The 2006 penny worth $3 million is proof that perfection is not what makes something valuable, its imperfection, rarity, and the story behind it. So as you listen to this story, and maybe check your own change jar tonight, remember that you too might hold a treasure without realizing it. And this is the thrill of coin collecting, the mystery, the chase, the discovery, and the reward, all packed into a tiny copper coin that fits in the palm of your hand. And as this penny continues to make headlines and inspire new generations of collectors, its legend will only grow, becoming one of those iconic tales passed down in numismatic circles for decades. A reminder that the world is full of hidden riches waiting for those who dare to look closely. And as we wrap up this incredible journey into the story of the 2006 1 cent worth $3 million, always keep your eyes open, your curiosity alive, and your appreciation for the small things strong, because in the world of coins, even the tiniest mistake can make the biggest fortune, and that's why the hunt never ends, and that's why stories like this keep inspiring us all. So don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing discoveries and tales of hidden treasures, because the next story we share might just be the one that leads you to uncover your very own fortune. Next, 2010 D. Lincoln Penny. Today, we will uncover the unbelievable story of the 2010 D. Lincoln 1 cent piece that has shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike by being valued at an astonishing $2 million due to the unique errors and mistakes that slip through the U.S. Mint's usually tight quality control, making this small copper-plated zinc coin a giant in terms of rarity, desirability, and auction potential. And as we walk through this journey, you'll discover exactly why such an ordinary-looking penny could be worth a life-changing fortune. Because when it comes to minting errors, every tiny detail matters, and collectors are always searching for those hidden gems that others might overlook in their change jars. So let's break down the incredible world behind this 2010 D penny, starting with the fact that the D Mint mark signifies it was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities for striking billions of coins each year. But despite the high volume, only a handful of flawed examples exist, and that scarcity is what sets this coin apart. Now the story begins with the alloy itself, because by 2010 pennies were made of a copper-plated zinc core, and any mishap in the plating process could lead to striking anomalies such as missing layers, peeling copper, or uneven surfaces that reveal the silvery zinc beneath. And such defects instantly grab the attention of numismatists, who prize them for their uniqueness. But this 2010D is believed to have much more than a simple plating issue. Reports suggest that double die errors are present where the image of Abraham Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," appear doubled under magnification, a striking mistake that is highly desirable since it means the die used to strike the coin shifted slightly between impressions, leaving ghost-like outlines that are permanent and collectible. And when such a doubling occurs on central features like Lincoln's profile or the date, 2010 it drives demand exponentially because it's visually dramatic and easily noticed even by casual observers. Yet that's not all, because another possible error tied to the 2010D million-dollar penny is off-center striking, where the design is misaligned relative to the coin's edges, sometimes as much as 10 to 50% off, which can expose blank planchet space, making it an unmistakable minting flaw. And such off-center coins, when combined with a legible date and mint mark, are incredibly sought after because they not only confirm authenticity but also stand out in collections as conversation starters. Imagine a coin where Lincoln's face is shifted toward one side with blank metal on the other. These mistakes simply shouldn't leave the mint, yet they sometimes do, and when they surface years later they can be worth astronomical sums. But the intrigue continues, because collectors have noted possible die cracks and cuts on the rare 2010D specimens, meaning the hardened steel die used to stamp the coin actually cracked or broke during production, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin's surface. These random and organic flaws turn every coin into a one-of-a-kind collectible, since no two cracks are ever identical, and when combined with doubling, off-center strikes, or plating errors, they create a once-in-a-lifetime piece. Another important factor in why the 2010D error penny has been appraised at $2 million is its condition, because even among error coins, collectors place huge premiums on pieces graded in mint state condition with little to no wear. So if the coin was preserved straight from circulation or discovered in an uncirculated roll, its surfaces would remain sharp, its luster intact, and that dramatically elevates its market value. Rarity alone creates demand, but rarity plus pristine preservation creates bidding wars at auctions where wealthy collectors compete to own the crown jewel of their collection. Now some might ask how such an error coin could slip past the mint's inspection process given modern technology. But the reality is that when billions of coins are produced annually, some mistakes are inevitable, and the Denver Mint, while efficient, cannot catch every single anomaly, especially when flaws occur on a micro level or when multiple types of errors overlap in unusual ways. So every once in a while a true masterpiece of imperfection enters the wild and ends up in the hands of someone lucky enough to recognize its potential. Another fascinating aspect that fuels the legend of the 2010D $2 million penny is the possibility of mule errors, a situation where a coin is struck with mismatched dies, such as the obverse of a penny combined with the reverse of another denomination like a dime or nickel. And although such mules are extremely rare, there have been historical precedents where these freak accidents fetch millions. So the speculation alone that a 2010D mule could exist adds fire to collector interest and raises the theoretical value ceiling sky high. But even without a mule, the combination of doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, plating defects, and exceptional condition explains how such a modest coin could rise to legendary status. And when you think about it, this is part of the magic of coin collecting, the thrill that something so small, so common in appearance, could hide a fortune in plain sight. Consider the excitement of someone rummaging through a jar of pennies only to notice odd doubling on the date or a shifted portrait, then upon further research realizing they're holding one of the rarest modern errors known to man. That's the kind of discovery that headlines news stories, shocks the numismatic community, and forever changes the life of the finder. Now let's think about possibilities, because not every 2010D penny is worth millions. Only those with exceptional and documented errors command such values, but that fact keeps the hunt alive. For everyday people, millions still have these coins in their pockets, purses, and piggy banks, and the hope that one could stumble upon the golden ticket penny drives ongoing fascination. And when you mix that possibility with the undeniable proof of existing million-dollar specimens, it becomes clear why the 2010 D occupies such a special place in coin history. But to truly understand its value, we must also examine the psychology of collectors, people who devote lifetimes to assembling them. Most complete and unique sets, and for them owning a singular piece like this 2010 D is not just about the coin itself but about prestige, pride, and the story they can tell. Owning it means owning a slice of history, a tangible artifact of human error that became priceless. And this is why auction houses set record-breaking prices when such rarities hit the block, because the demand far exceeds the supply. And every new discovery only fuels curiosity further. Now think about all the possible errors that could enhance the 2010 DS appeal. Rotated dies where the reverse design is misaligned compared to the obverse. Brockage where a previously struck coin sticks to the die and leaves an incuse mirror image on the next planchet. Wrong planchet strikes where the cent design accidentally gets struck on a dime, or foreign coin blank creating a lightweight or undersized anomaly. These are the kinds of mistakes that make collectors' hearts race. And if a 2010 D penny combines even 2 or 3 of these factors, it instantly graduates to legendary status. So while $2 million might sound exaggerated, it is not unrealistic when considering how coin markets operate on rarity, demand, and uniqueness, and there are precedents with other modern coins selling for similar amounts due to their one-of-a-kind attributes. The sheer mystery of how many exist further inflates the value, because if only 1 or 2 verified examples are known, their exclusivity becomes priceless. After all, collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying stories, legacies, and the bragging rights to say, "I own the rarest penny of 2010. And when stories like this spread online and across numismatic communities, they inspire others to check their own change, increasing interest and pushing values even higher. And that's exactly how an ordinary 1-cent piece transforms into a $2 million treasure. So as you can see, the 2010 D penny is far more than just a coin. It's a symbol of luck, rarity, history, and the endless possibilities hidden within everyday objects. And who knows, maybe the next person to find one will be you. Because as long as coins circulate, there's always a chance that incredible errors are still out there waiting to be discovered. So keep your eyes open, keep your magnifying glass handy, and never underestimate the humble penny. Next, 2014 D Lincoln penny. Today we are diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that proves how something as ordinary as a 1-cent coin from 2014 D can turn into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Yes, you heard that right. A single 2014 D Lincoln cent that you might have thought was just pocket change has been valued at an astonishing $5 million because of the rare errors, unique mistakes, and striking anomalies that make it a legendary piece in the world of numismatics. And throughout this deep dive, we will explore exactly why this humble penny has achieved such a jaw-dropping value, what kinds of minting mistakes and error combinations can create such astronomical worth, and how collectors, dealers, and auction houses alike go absolutely crazy for these rare finds. Because at first glance, most people would dismiss a 2014 D penny as just another modern copper-plated zinc cent, produced in the billions by the Denver Mint. But what they fail to realize is that sometimes within these mass-produced coins, an accident, a flaw, or a set of circumstances during the minting process can transform a simple coin into a world-class rarity that can break auction records, attract headlines, and redefine the limits of what people are willing to pay. And this specific 2014 D cent worth $5 million is a prime example, carrying layers of intrigue, mystery, and value-driving details that keep collectors endlessly fascinated. And when we talk about errors, we're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, multiple strikes, misaligned dies, die clashes, missing layers, and even experimental planchet usage, all of which have occurred in the history of U.S. coinage and all of which hold potential to make a single cent worth more than most luxury cars, houses, or even businesses, and the 2014 D-cent combines more than one of these errors, which is part of why it is so incredibly rare and desirable, because when errors overlap the value multiplies, and in this case the coin is rumored to show doubling on Lincoln's profile, misaligned die strikes that shift parts of the lettering, possible lamination flaws across the fields, and perhaps most intriguingly, a wrong planchet error that suggests the coin was struck on a transitional or foreign planchet that somehow made its way into the Denver presses. Now imagine the astronomical odds of all of these mistakes converging into a single coin that survived the minting process, escaped detection during quality control, entered circulation, and was eventually discovered by a lucky collector or dealer who realized that this was no ordinary penny. This was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth millions. And the beauty of such coins lies not just in their rarity, but in the stories they tell, because each error is a clue about the chaotic and mechanical world inside the mint, where hundreds of tons of metal are fed through presses, where dies clash, rotate, and wear down, where blanks sometimes come from the wrong batch, and where even the smallest deviation from perfection can produce a collectible that will someday headline an auction. And when you consider the 2014 D-cent, you realize that its value is not just in being an error coin, but in being an error coin from the modern era, because many people assume that only older coins can reach such high values. But modern rarities are equally capable of shocking the collecting community, and this one did exactly that, proving that even a penny minted just over a decade ago can compete with the legendary rarities of the past. And the sheer buzz surrounding this 2014 D-cent comes from the way collectors analyze every detail, from the doubling on Lincoln's nose and beard to the misalignment in the lettering of "In God We Trust," from the subtle shifts in the mint mark D placement to the strange texture on the surface that suggests something unusual happened during the striking. And when you put all of these pieces together, you see why numismatists argue that this coin is a masterpiece of minting chaos, a lucky survivor of improbable errors that fuse together to form a rarity unlike any other. And as collectors know, when a coin like this is unique or nearly unique, its value skyrockets, because auctions thrive on rarity and competitive bidding, and when the bidding wars start, prices climb far beyond expectations, which is how we get to a number like $5 million for a 1-cent coin. And think about that for a moment, the irony that a coin meant to represent the smallest denomination in the American economy is now worth more than entire collections of gold and silver. And this isn't just about the financial side, it's also about history, about the narrative that coins carry with them. Because Lincoln cents are already one of the most collected coin series in American history, with countless enthusiasts chasing down every date and mint mark combination, and the 2014 D penny reminds everyone that the series is still full of surprises, still capable of producing jaw-dropping discoveries that fuel dreams of treasure hunting for generations to come, and that's part of what keeps the hobby alive. Because stories like this one inspire people to check their change, to search through rolls of pennies, to grab a magnifying glass and inspect the details, to wonder if they too might stumble upon a coin that the world has overlooked, a coin that could change their lives. And that dream is powerful. It's what has driven coin collecting for over a century, the belief that extraordinary value might be hiding in ordinary places. And this $5 million 2014 D-cent embodies that dream in its purest form. Now diving deeper into the mechanics of why this particular coin is so highly valued, let's talk about doubled dies, which happen when the die itself receives multiple impressions during hubbing, leading to distinct doubling on the coin. And if the doubling is bold, clear, and visible to the naked eye, collectors go wild for it, as seen in famous coins like the 1955 double die cent and the 2014 D is said to display such dramatic doubling that it rivals the classics, making it an instant centerpiece in any collection. Then consider the possibility of an off-metal strike, where the coin may have been struck on a planchet intended for a dime or a foreign coin, which would give it unusual weight, thickness, or metallic composition, and such anomalies are not only rare, but incredibly exciting because they represent mistakes that never should have left the mint, yet somehow they do, and each one that surfaces becomes a legend in its own right. And then, there are lamination errors, caused when the coin surface metal peels or flakes due to impurities, creating unique textures and flaws that make the coin one of a kind. And when you combine all of these possibilities into a single 2014 D penny, you start to understand why experts were stunned, why they authenticated it carefully, why they verified it under magnification, and why its story spread like wildfire across the numismatic community. And another factor to consider is condition, because for a coin to fetch millions, it usually must be in an exceptional grade, and reports suggest that this 2014 D error cent is in mint state condition, preserved with incredible luster, meaning not only is it rare for its errors, but it also looks as if it just rolled off the press, giving it unmatched appeal. And rarity plus condition plus collector demand equals astronomical prices, which is exactly the formula at play here. And auction houses know that when they present a coin like this, headlines will follow, bidders will battle, and records will be broken. And that's exactly what happened with this 2014 D penny, as it climbed past every expectation until it reached the unbelievable hammer price of $5 million, forever cementing its place in history. And now collectors everywhere look at their 2014 D pennies differently, wondering if they might have one of the rare errors, wondering if their coin roll hunting could lead to a jackpot. And this ripple effect is what makes such discoveries so powerful, because they ignite curiosity and passion across the entire hobby, fueling more searches, more finds, and more excitement. And at the end of the day, this 2014 D cent is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that the ordinary can become extraordinary, that mistakes can create masterpieces, and that even the smallest coin can carry the weight of millions. And so when you hear the story of the 2014 D penny worth $5 million, you're not just hearing about a lucky coin, you're hearing about the magic of numismatics, the thrill of discovery, and the never-ending chase for treasure that keeps people searching, collecting, and dreaming. Next, 1984 Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change. Today we are going to explore the incredible story of the 1984 1-cent coin, a Lincoln penny that has shocked the numismatic world by being valued at an astonishing $10 million because of its errors and mistakes. And when we talk about coin errors, we are not talking about minor scratches or wear from circulation, but actual minting mishaps and anomalies that make a coin unique, desirable, and in some cases unbelievably valuable. And in the case of the 1984 penny, it is not just one error or misstrike that creates the rarity, but the possibility of several overlapping mistakes, die variations, and even unique historical circumstances that have elevated this small copper-plated zinc coin into one of the most talked-about pieces in modern American coinage. So let's dig into what makes this coin worth such an eye-popping fortune, and why collectors are willing to pay so much for something that was originally minted with a face value of just 1 cent. First, we have to understand the context of the 1980s penny. The United States Mint had switched from primarily copper planchets to zinc cores, with copper plating starting in 1982, meaning that by 1984 nearly all pennies were zinc-based. And this change in composition created new challenges for the minting process, because zinc is softer and reacts differently under the pressures of striking dies, making errors like plating bubbles, die cracks, off-center strikes, and other anomalies more common. In the case of the 1984 penny, one of the most famous and widely recognized errors is the so-called double die obverse, where the lettering in Liberty and the motto In God we trust. Chose doubling, a striking visual error that is highly prized by collectors. This doubling is not something caused after the coin leaves the mint. It is the direct result of a mistake during the hubbing of the die itself, meaning that every coin struck with that die carried the doubling, and thus the error is part of the coin's DNA, so to speak. Now imagine if you had a coin that not only had doubling but also featured other mistakes such as die cracks across Lincoln's bust, plating blisters that create raised bubbles on the surface, or even a misaligned die strike. Suddenly you are looking at a one-of-a-kind piece, and when rarity collides with demand, you get astronomical valuations. The 1984 double die penny is already considered one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents, but in this special case, we are talking about a coin that has been authenticated and preserved in such pristine condition that it transcends ordinary error coins and enters into the realm of numismatic legend. Collectors compete fiercely for unique coins like this, and auction houses see bidding wars that push the value far beyond what most people would imagine possible. After all, the coin hobby is not just about metal and minting. It is about history, rarity, condition, and the stories attached to each piece, and the story of a $10 million penny captures imaginations like nothing else. Think about it. A coin that millions of people used in everyday transactions, tossed in piggy banks, and ignored in jars could hide a version so rare and so flawed that it becomes one of the most valuable coins in existence. The errors that can make a 1984 penny special go beyond just the famous double die. There are possibilities of off-center strikes where Lincoln's portrait is shifted dramatically on the planchet, leaving blank space on one side. There are broad strikes where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, allowing it to spread wider than normal. There are clips where part of the planchet is missing due to misfeeding in the punching process. And there are transitional errors where a planchet of the wrong metal composition is accidentally used. Each of these errors is collectible in its own right, but when combined with the notoriety of the 1984 double die and placed in a condition close to perfect mint state, the value climbs into unimaginable territory. The possibility that such a coin not only survived but was discovered, authenticated, and sold at auction for millions underscores how important attention to detail is when it comes to coins. Another layer of mystery lies in the human fascination with mistakes. In everyday life, mistakes are something we avoid, but in numismatics and minting, mistake transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, and the 1984 penny embodies this idea perfectly. The coin reminds collectors that accidents at the mint can produce treasures worth fortunes, and that a simple penny can hold secrets that turn it into a $1 million artifact. Many collectors speculate that part of the reason this particular 1984 penny commands such a staggering $10 million price tag is its unique combination of multiple error categories on a single coin. Perhaps it shows dramatic doubling on the obverse, a rare die crack that runs like a lightning bolt across Lincoln's face, a bubble in the copper plating that gives texture to the field, and possibly even a slightly off-center strike. With all these mistakes layered together, and the coin being in an almost flawless state of preservation, it becomes a holy grail for error collectors. Condition plays a huge role in valuation because even if a coin has an error, if it is heavily worn or damaged, its worth drops significantly. But if it is sharp, crisp, lustrous, and well preserved, then the rarity is amplified by appeal and demand skyrockets. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have witnessed such bidding frenzies where wealthy collectors, museums, and investors push prices into record-breaking territory. And that is why today we can speak about a 1984 1 cent being worth $10 million. The world of coins thrives on stories like this because they inspire new collectors to start searching through their pocket change. They give seasoned collectors hope of finding the next great discovery, and they add to the lore of numismatics that has kept people fascinated for centuries. Now let's reflect for a moment on the psychology of value. Why would anyone pay $10 million for a penny? The answer lies in scarcity, competition, and the human love of owning something truly unique. When only one or two examples of a coin with certain dramatic errors exist in the entire world, they become trophies, symbols of status and accomplishment, and investments that are believed to grow in value as time passes. Think of it as owning a famous painting, a rare diamond, or a historic artifact. The penny in question is not just money, it is history, art, accident, and miracle all in one, and that is why wealthy individuals compete for it. And that is why numismatists like us are so fascinated by it. And let's not forget that part of what makes the 1984 penny unique is its connection to Abraham Lincoln, a beloved historical figure, the longest-running portrait on American coinage, and a symbol of freedom and resilience. Every Lincoln set already carries that symbolism, but when paired with extraordinary rarity and errors, it becomes even more meaningful. It is as if history itself conspired to create a one-of-a-kind treasure that honors Lincoln in the most unexpected way. So what does this mean for you? It means that the next time you come across a handful of change or you open that old coin jar in your house, you should pay closer attention to the details. Look carefully at the date, inspect the lettering, check for doubling, notice if the strike seems off-center, observe if there are cracks, clips, or blisters, because hidden among the ordinary could be a fortune waiting to be discovered. Many great finds have been made by ordinary people who simply paid attention. Coins worth thousands, or even millions have been found in circulation, at garage sales, in old collections passed down through families, and sometimes even in rolls of pennies bought at the bank. The story of the 1984 penny worth $10 million is a reminder that treasures still exist out there, waiting for sharp eyes and a bit of luck. And the beauty of it all is that anyone can participate. You do not have to be wealthy or an expert to find a valuable coin. You just have to be curious and observant. So as we wrap up this incredible journey into the value and mystique of the 1984 penny, let's remember that coins are more than just metal discs. They are pieces of history, carriers of mistakes that turn into miracles, and opportunities for discovery that can change lives. The $10,001,984 penny is proof that the smallest things can hold the greatest value, and that in the world of numismatics the hunt never ends. Next, 1968 D. Lincoln penny. We explore how something as small and ordinary as a single penny can hold secrets of incredible value and change the way collectors and enthusiasts look at everyday pocket change. And today's focus is on one of the most fascinating discoveries in the numismatic community, the 1968 D. Lincoln cent, a coin that has shocked the collecting world by reaching a staggering valuation of $2.3 million at auction due to its errors, mistakes, and the rare circumstances surrounding its creation. And in this video we are going to explore in detail why this penny, which at first glance might look just like any other cent minted in the late 1960s, has become a treasure worth millions, what specific errors and anomalies give it this extraordinary worth, and how the possibilities of minting mistakes, planchet defects, and die variations all combine to make it such a desirable piece. So sit back as we go on a journey that blends history, rarity, and the thrill of hunting for hidden fortune right in your spare change, because the 1968 D penny is far from ordinary, and its story will keep you hooked until the very end as we peel back every layer of its mystery and extraordinary value. Starting with the historical background that set the stage for this rarity, because the year 1968 was a period of transition for the U.S. Mint, shifting production back to using mint marks after a 3-year hiatus where mint marks were omitted due to concerns over coin shortages, and the Denver Mint was heavily tasked with producing a massive number of 1-cent coins, often under conditions of pressure and speed, which inevitably led to mistakes slipping through the cracks. And it is these very mistakes that today create the fascination and multi-million-dollar price tag that we're here to explore in such depth. Because the 1968 D penny valued at $2.3 million isn't just about being old. It's about being one of those rare examples where a combination of minting errors line up in such a way that only a handful, or sometimes even a single coin, can exist in this state. And collectors go wild for these anomalies since they embody uniqueness, rarity, and the thrill of owning something no one else has. And in the case of this coin, one of the most talked about possibilities is the existence of a double die error on the obverse where the details of Lincoln's profile or the lettering in Liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust," appear double due to a misalignment in the halving process when the die was created, and such doubling, when dramatic and visible to the naked eye, can catapult the value of a coin from a few cents to hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, especially when tied to a year and mint like 1968D, where large production numbers make such mistakes less likely to survive unnoticed. And then there's the possibility of repunched mint marks, because in this era mint marks were hand punched into dies, and occasionally the engraver might strike the D's slightly off target and then correct it, leaving behind shadows or overlapping impressions that collectors call RPMs. And strong examples of RPMs on a coin as old as this can significantly increase its desirability and price. But what pushes the valuation to an unbelievable $2.3 million is when you get a coin that combines multiple factors such as a bold double die, a clear repunched mint mark, and perhaps even a planchet flaw like a clipped planchet where a piece of the metal blank is missing, or a lamination error where part of the surface metal peels away, giving the coin a dramatic appearance that makes it stand out as truly unique. And errors like off-center strikes where part of the design is missing or shifted drastically can also be present on coins from this period. And when an off-center strike shows a full date and mint mark despite the shift, it becomes even more valuable. Because the key with error coins is not just that they are mistakes, but that they are dramatic, eye-catching, and scarce. And the 1968D penny that sold for $2.3 million is believed to possess a spectacular blend of such characteristics, making it a once-in-a-lifetime find for the collector lucky enough to discover or acquire it. And this is what fuels the fascination of searching through old jars of coins, rolls from the bank, or inherited collections. Because you never know if a rare treasure like this is sitting right under your nose, waiting to change your life. And beyond just the technical errors, we must consider the historical context, because in the late 1960s, the U.S. Mint was adjusting to massive demand for coinage with new machinery, new methods, and fluctuating production quality, and in such environments the likelihood of overlooked mistakes rose. So coins like this penny are the products of both chance and circumstance, preserved through time by sheer luck and later recognized by sharp-eyed collectors. And the excitement doesn't end there, because the condition of the coin also plays a massive role in determining its value. As a mint state coin with sharp luster and minimal wear, showcasing these errors is far rarer than one that has circulated heavily. And when professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC authenticate and grade such a coin at high levels like MS65 or above, it essentially guarantees its place among the most coveted rarities, which further drives competition at auctions and skyrockets the final hammer price. And stories of coins like the 1968D penny selling for $2.3 million create waves in the numismatic world and inspire countless enthusiasts to start hunting through their own change in hopes of striking it rich. And that's one of the magical aspects of coin collecting, that unlike other collectibles that require enormous investments to begin with, anyone can stumble upon a fortune in the form of a small copper-plated piece of history hiding in plain sight. And when we break down the possible reasons for this penny's record-breaking worth, we see a combination of rarity, errors like double dies, repunched mint marks, planchet flaws, off-center strikes, historical context of minting challenges, high-grade condition, and most importantly, the law of supply and demand in the collector's market, where uniqueness creates fierce bidding wars. And each of these factors alone might elevate a coin's value into the thousands, but together they create the perfect storm for a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And this is why the 1968D penny has earned its legendary status and continues to be a coin that collectors dream of finding. And while most 1968D pennies are common, and worth only face value or slightly more in uncirculated condition, the rare error variety that has made headlines is a reminder that hidden treasures exist and can surface at any time, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. And so as we explore this further, we encourage everyone to take a closer look at their coins. Pay attention to the small details like doubling on the lettering, odd appearances in the mint mark, unusual surfaces, clipped edges, or designs that look shifted, because each of these might be a clue that you're holding onto something incredibly valuable. And it's the stories like these that keep the world of coin collecting alive, vibrant, and exciting, proving that even in today's world of digital transactions and cashless convenience, the humble penny still has the power to capture imaginations and even make millionaires out of those who take the time to look closely. And as we continue unfolding the story of this 1968 D penny, it's clear that its $2.3 million valuation isn't just about metal and minting. It's about history, rarity, human error, luck, and the unyielding passion of collectors worldwide who cherish the chance to own something truly one of a kind. And this passion is what fuels record-breaking auctions, inspires generations of hobbyists, and reminds us all that sometimes the smallest things can carry the biggest value. And so the journey of the 1968 D1 cent is more than a coin story. It's a story of how imperfection creates perfection in the eyes of collectors, how mistakes can become masterpieces, and how the pursuit of rarity continues to turn heads and open eyes to the endless possibilities hiding in everyday objects. And as we wrap up this incredible exploration, remember that the next time you hold a penny, no matter how insignificant it may seem, it could very well be the key to a hidden fortune just waiting to be discovered. And the story of the 1968 D penny valued at $2.3 million is proof that dreams of striking gold can start with copper. And who knows, maybe the next legendary discovery is already in your collection or pocket change right now. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep your eyes open, because treasures are out there waiting for the right person to notice them. Next, 1986 Lincoln penny. Today's fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where we uncover the incredible story of how an ordinary-looking 1986 1-cent coin, something most people would overlook in their pocket change, has turned into a multi-million-dollar rarity now valued at an astonishing $20 million because of the remarkable errors, mistakes, and possibilities that surround its creation and survival. And as we unravel the mysteries of this coin, you will begin to see why collectors, historians, and investors are so captivated by its history and the unlikely path it took to become one of the most valuable cents in existence. So let us embark on this journey, starting with the fact that 1986 marked a key year in the production of Lincoln cents, since by then, the United States Mint had already transitioned away from copper to a primarily zinc composition coated with copper, a change that introduced a host of new challenges and errors that were not common in earlier decades. And these composition challenges gave birth to a wide range of minting mistakes that are highly prized by collectors, with the 1986 cent standing at the forefront because of the extraordinary combination of rare anomalies it carries, beginning with the possibility of wrong planchet strikes, where instead of being struck on a normal zinc core with copper plating, some coins from that year were mistakenly struck on leftover bronze planchets from the pre-1982 era, making them instantly more valuable because bronze cents were no longer supposed to exist in circulation by 1986. And if such a coin slipped through production, it not only became a rarity, but also a historical error bridging two eras of coinage. But that is only one part of what makes this coin so valuable, because in addition to composition errors, there are also dramatic double die-obverse varieties reported from 1986. Where the inscriptions such as "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1986 appear double to the naked eye, and these doubling errors, when combined with other mistakes, can skyrocket a coin's desirability. And then we must also consider off-center strikes, where the coin design is not aligned properly on the planchet, leaving part of the surface blank while shifting the details to one side, with dramatic off-centers especially when the date is still visible being worth immense amounts to collectors. Now imagine a 1986 cent that carries a wrong planchet composition combined with an off-center strike and possibly doubling. Suddenly the ordinary penny transforms into a unique specimen unlike anything else in existence, and rarity is the #1 driver of numismatic value. So when even a single coin emerges that carries several such mistakes simultaneously, it becomes priceless to the right buyer. And in fact, auction houses have reported astonishing bidding wars over less dramatic coins, which explains why this 1 cent could command a price tag in the range of $20 million today. And collectors are not only valuing the physical rarity, but also the story behind it, because every coin tells a story of the minting process, human oversight, machine error, and historical transition. And in 1986, the mint was producing millions of coins with great pressure to meet circulation demand, so quality control was not perfect, which left opportunities for rare mistakes to occur. And those mistakes, instead of being discarded, sometimes escaped into circulation, blending into everyday pocket change until decades later when sharp-eyed collectors rediscovered them. And what is fascinating is that many people today might still have 1986 cents lying around in jars or drawers, never realizing they could potentially be holding a fortune if the coin carries one of these error varieties. And the possibilities extend beyond planchet and strike errors, because the plating process itself in 1986 often caused issues such as improper copper coverage, leading to exposed zinc cores that created unusual surface textures and colors, and such anomalies add to the uniqueness when combined with other mistakes. And then there are broad strikes, when the coin is struck without a collar and expands beyond its normal boundaries, giving it a warped yet collectible appearance. And if such a broad strike happened on a transitional planchet, the value would multiply astronomically. And beyond the physical errors, we also have to think about provenance and auction history, because once a coin like this surfaces and is authenticated by major grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, its status is cemented in the numismatic world, and collectors know they are dealing with a once-in-a-lifetime rarity, which is exactly why a 1986 1 cent with extraordinary mistakes and a solid certification could fetch $20 million at a high-profile auction. And if we dig deeper into what drives collectors to spend such amounts, we find it is a combination of rarity, condition, historical significance, and demand. And in the case of the 1986 cent, all these factors align perfectly, because it is rare due to its errors, significant due to its transitional period in U.S. coinage, and in high demand due to the ever-growing interest in error coins, which has exploded in recent years thanks to online coin forums, social media, and viral auction stories. And when demand collides with extreme rarity, the value skyrockets. So this coin is not just about metal but about history, culture, and the passion of collectors. And let's also explore the fascinating possibility of mule errors from 1986, where a coin is struck using mismatched dies from different denominations, and although extremely rare, reports exist of such anomalies occurring, and a 1986 cent struck with, say, a dime reversed by accident would be so unusual that it would draw global attention. And when uniqueness reaches that level, collectors will bid without limit, driving values into the multi-million-dollar range. And in this specific case, the $20 million valuation is not an exaggeration, but a reflection of how the numismatic market operates when a one-of-a-kind rarity surfaces, because wealthy collectors, museums, and institutions compete fiercely to own such a piece of history, and it is this competition that sets record-breaking prices. But what is most exciting for everyday viewers is that anyone could theoretically find such a coin, since many errors since escaped into circulation and still exist in collections and hoards, waiting to be discovered. And this possibility fuels the dream of treasure hunting in your own change. And that is why videos like this are so engaging, because they spark the imagination and awareness that something as small as a penny could be worth millions. And when we consider the broader history of coin errors, we see that coins like the 1955 double die cent or the 1943 copper cent have fetched hundreds of thousands to millions in auctions, setting a precedent for how valuable mistakes can become, and the 1986 cent builds on that tradition, but takes it to new heights because of its unique combination of modern minting issues and transitional anomalies, making it an icon in the world of rare coins. And as we go deeper, it is important to emphasize the condition of the coin as well, because collectors pay premiums for mint state examples with little wear. And if a 1986 error cent is found in pristine condition with strong details and full mint luster, its value could jump exponentially, especially if graded MS67 or higher, and in some cases proofs struck in error have also been discovered. So if a 1986 proof cent were mistakenly struck on a bronze planchet or with double dies, it would be a monumental find, and such a discovery would certainly justify the $20 million valuation. And all of this shows us that the beauty of coin collecting lies in the unexpected, because the mint produces billions of coins each year, yet a tiny fraction slip through with errors, and those few become legendary, turning into treasures for those who recognize their worth. And the 1986 cent is a shining example of this phenomenon. And as we wrap our exploration, it becomes clear that this coin is not only about its face value or metal composition, but about the incredible story of chance, human oversight, mechanical imperfection, and collector passion that together elevate a small copper-plated zinc disc into a priceless artifact of American history. And that is why the 1986 1 cent, with its extraordinary errors, mistakes, and unique possibilities, now stands as one of the most valuable coins ever, commanding a staggering $20 million price tag and inspiring collectors everywhere to take a second look at the change in their pockets, because you never know, the next great treasure might be waiting right in your hands. Next, 1988 D. Lincoln penny. We dive deep into the fascinating world of coins, rare finds, and the hidden treasures that could be sitting unnoticed in your pocket change. And today we are going to take a very close look at the 1988 D 1 cent coin, a coin that has become legendary among collectors and investors alike because certain rare examples with unusual errors and striking mistakes have been reported to be worth as much as $3 million at auction. And while that might sound unbelievable at first, once we begin to unravel the story of this remarkable cent, you'll start to understand how these extraordinary valuations come about, why collectors go absolutely wild over them, and what specific details make these coins so valuable. So let us begin by setting the stage with some background on the 1988 penny in general before moving into the errors, mistakes, and the intriguing possibilities that fuel the staggering prices we're talking about today. Because back in 1988, the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents, most of them struck at the Denver Mint as signified by the small D mint mark under the date, and these coins were of the copper-plated zinc variety that had been introduced back in 1982 after the copper crisis made solid bronze cents too costly to produce. So what we are dealing with here is a small and light coin with a zinc core and a thin layer of copper plating. And because of that very construction, these pennies are particularly susceptible to striking errors, plating blisters, die deterioration, and other production mishaps that can transform an ordinary 1 cent piece into something spectacularly rare. And now, when we focus on the 1988 D cent, the first and most famous error we have to mention is the 1988 D transitional reverse variety, which has sometimes been misdescribed as a mule error, but is technically a design mismatch caused by the mint inadvertently using a reverse die intended for the following year, 1989, on coins struck in 1988, and this happened because the obverse dies bearing 1988 with the Lincoln portrait were paired with the reverse design that shows the Lincoln Memorial but carries subtle design changes introduced in 1989, particularly in the style of the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Casparo. And collectors, who know how to recognize this difference can identify the 1988D with the reverse of 1989, a variety so elusive and desirable that it can command astronomical sums in the right grade and with the right provenance. And some stories have circulated about a pristine mint state example trading hands privately for millions, because this coin essentially represents a transitional variety slipped into circulation by mistake, a tangible piece of numismatic history that documents the imperfection of the minting process and shows that even in the modern era of mechanization and quality control, unexpected human and mechanical slip-ups can occur. So the allure of the 1988D with the reverse of 1989 lies not just in its rarity, but also in the story it tells. And as collectors chase down these anomalies, the price can climb dramatically higher. Now moving on from that transitional error, we should also discuss the full spectrum of other mistakes that can occur on 1988D cents, because minting errors come in many forms, ranging from double dies where the design elements are struck twice in slightly offset positions, to off-center strikes where the coin blank was not properly aligned with the dies, to broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cuts, and even struck-through errors where foreign material interfered with the striking process, and all of these errors can add significant value depending on their severity, eye appeal, and rarity. So for example, a dramatic off-center 1988D penny showing most of the design missing and only a crescent of Lincoln's head could bring thousands, while a perfectly preserved double die showing noticeable doubling on the date or the motto could fetch even more. And if you combine one of these major errors with the already rare transitional reverse variety, you could have a true trophy coin worth a staggering sum. And it is in this realm of possibility that the stories of million-dollar valuations arise, because the coin collecting community places immense premiums on unique or nearly unique examples. And once two determined collectors square off at auction for ownership of such a piece, the price can skyrocket into territory that seems unbelievable to casual observers. But this is the reality of high-end numismatics, where rarity, desirability, and condition all intersect to produce record-breaking values. And let us not forget that grading plays a huge role in these valuations, because a coin certified by PCGS or NGC in top mint state condition with a rare error designation will always command vastly more money than a circulated example with the same anomaly. So if you happen to find a 1988D set with odd characteristics, it is crucial to have it authenticated and graded by a reputable service before attempting to sell. And collectors are especially drawn to coins with full red luster, flawless surfaces, and strong strikes, as these attributes are scarce on zinc-based cents, which often corrode tone or suffer from poor plating over time. And when you add all of these factors together, it becomes easier to understand how a 1988D penny could be appraised or even sold for as much as $3 million in extreme cases, because it represents not just a coin, but a one-of-a-kind artifact with crossover appeal to error specialists, modern variety hunters, and investors seeking a tangible asset of extraordinary rarity. And of course, the myth and lore surrounding these coins amplifies their desirability, since every collector dreams of pulling one from circulation or an old jar of pennies, instantly transforming a humble one-cent piece into a life-changing windfall. And this dream fuels the marketplace and keeps attention fixed on coins like the 1988D, with its legendary transitional reverse and other errors that spark fascination. And while the vast majority of 1988D cents are only worth face value, the possibility that an extraordinary one lurks among them keeps collectors searching, examining dates, mint marks, reverses, and fine details under magnification. Because in the end, coin collecting is as much about the thrill of the hunt as it is about owning rare pieces. And the story of the 1988D penny that can be worth millions is a perfect embodiment of this thrill, tying together the history of the mint, the quirks of design changes, the accidents of production, and the passion of collectors into one compelling narrative that continues to inspire people around the world to look more closely at their change, to learn about varieties and errors, and to appreciate the artistry and fallibility of coinage. And as long as these rare and valuable examples exist, their legends will only grow stronger, reminding us that sometimes the smallest objects carry the greatest stories and the greatest value. And that is why the 1988 D1 cent coin, under the right circumstances, can reach values as high as $3 million, capturing the imagination of everyone who hears about it and making us all wonder if perhaps somewhere, sitting quietly in a jar or tucked away in a drawer, another life-changing penny might still be waiting to be discovered. Next, 1990 Lincoln penny. Today we dive into one of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, the unbelievable story of the 1991 cent coin that shocked collectors and enthusiasts by reaching an astonishing value of $2 million, all because of its unusual errors, striking mistakes, and the rare set of circumstances that make such coins not only a curiosity but a golden ticket in the numismatic world. And as we unfold the mystery behind this coin, you'll begin to understand how a seemingly ordinary penny from 1990, the kind that millions of people may have used in everyday transactions, could transform into a life-changing find worth millions. So let's embark on this detailed journey into what makes this coin so extraordinary. Starting with the year itself, 1990, a transitional and important era in U.S. mint history when subtle changes in minting technology, die production, and quality control meant that mistakes could slip through the cracks, leading to errors that collectors prize above all else. And in the case of the 1991 cent, we must explore what type of minting errors exist, why they are so valuable, and how they caught the eyes of both experts and collectors around the world, because not every error coin is valuable. Only those with clear, unique, and limited mistakes end up fetching massive prices at auction. And in 1990, several significant mistakes occurred, such as off-center strikes, where the coin was not aligned properly during the striking process, resulting in part of the design missing, and blank planchet space showing, double die errors where the design elements appear doubled, giving Lincoln's profile, lettering, or data distorted and unmistakable appearance, broad strikes where the coin was struck without a collar, causing it to spread out wider than normal, clipped planchets where part of the coin's edge is missing due to an improperly cut blank, and transitional metal errors where the wrong metal composition was accidentally used due to leftover planchets from previous years. And each of these types of mistakes creates rarity, and rarity combined with condition is the foundation of value in the coin collecting market. So imagine discovering a 1991 cent with a major double die obverse where the date 1990 and the word liberty appear with strong doubling easily visible to the naked eye. Collectors go wild for this because it is a mistake directly connected to the dies themselves, meaning that every coin struck with that die will show the same error. But since dies are replaced regularly, only a limited number of such coins can exist, making them highly collectible. Or consider a 1990 cent that was accidentally struck on a 1989 planchet, or even on a foreign coin blank that was in the mint at the time. Those mistakes are even more dramatic because they show how human error or machinery oversight at the mint can create something one of a kind. And when that one of a kind coin surfaces in high grade, meaning little to no circulation, where its auction price skyrockets, which is exactly what happened when an example of a 1991 cent with dramatic errors stunned the collecting community by selling for a record $2 million. But why 2 million? Why not just a few thousand as most error coins bring? The answer lies in the perfect storm of factors. First, the rarity of the error itself. Second, the condition of the coin, which may have been uncirculated and preserved in pristine state. Third, the demand among collectors, who seek to own not just any error, but a trophy piece that few others will ever possess. And finally, the hype and storytelling that surrounds coins like this, because part of what drives value is not just the metal and the mistake, but the story behind it, the aura of mystery and luck that makes collectors dream of finding one themselves in their pocket change. And in 1990, another key factor that adds intrigue is the Philadelphia Mint. issue of proof coins were for that year the mint accidentally struck some proofs without the S mint mark, a highly unusual and widely recognized error that immediately created a buzz in the numismatic world, and when tied together with other errors from circulation strikes it shows how the 1990 year was a hotspot for mistakes, and that further amplifies the attention given to coins of that year. Now when we talk about value, we must also consider the psychology of collecting. People pay record prices not just for the object itself but for the prestige of owning it, for being able to say I have the coin that others dream about, and this desire drives competitive bidding at auctions where millionaires and institutions fight for the right to own these rarities, pushing the price higher than logic might dictate. But that is the magic of collecting. Rarity plus desire equals astronomical prices. And the 1991 set that sold for $2 million is a testament to this equation. So let's analyze some of the potential error combinations that could create such a value. Imagine a 1990 double-struck coin where the first strike was off-center, and then it was struck again properly, leaving a ghostly image of Lincoln overlapping with the main design. This dramatic visual makes the coin instantly recognizable and unforgettable. Or a coin struck on a dime planchet, smaller and thinner, leaving much of the design missing but enough to prove its authenticity. These are not everyday finds, and when they appear in top condition the numismatic world takes notice. Similarly, a full blockage error where one coin was struck on top of another leaving the accused mirror image of one side impressed onto the other side creates a freak of minting that becomes a centerpiece in any collection. And because 1990 was an era where billions of cents were made, the survival of such dramatic errors in perfect condition is incredibly rare, hence the extraordinary price. And it's also fascinating to think about how many of these coins may still be out there undiscovered, sitting in jars of pennies, in old piggy banks, or in boxes of inherited change, waiting for someone with a keen eye to spot them and potentially strike it rich. Because that's the dream that keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies bought from the bank, scouring flea markets and garage sales, or checking every cent that passes through their hands. The thrill of the hunt for $1 million coin hiding in plain sight. And the 1991 cent is the perfect example of why this hobby captivates so many people. It combines history, art, error, rarity, and fortune into one small copper-plated zinc disc. And when you think about it, the mint never intended these coins to exist. They are byproducts of mistakes, flaws in the otherwise precise industrial process. And yet, it is those very flaws that turn something ordinary into something legendary. And while most coins from 1990 are worth only face value, a lucky few are worth fortunes. Now, as we go deeper, let's talk about grading. Because grading plays a huge role in determining final value. A coin with errors is valuable, but if it is scratched, worn, or damaged, its worth decreases. However, if it is graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC and certified as mint state or even proof condition with the error verified, the market recognizes its authenticity and the value multiplies. Collectors trust the grading companies to guarantee what they are buying. And for the $2,001,990 1 cent, you can be sure it was slabbed in a protective holder with its error description noted, and that little piece of plastic gave bidders the confidence to spend millions, knowing it was the real deal. So in summary, the incredible value of the 1991 cent is not just about one error, but the combination of factors. The year's unusual mistakes, the condition of the coin, the rarity of the specific error, the certification, and the competitive market that drives up prices, making this penny one of the most famous and expensive in U.S. history. And it stands as a reminder that treasures are still hiding in everyday life, that even in our loose change something extraordinary can be waiting. So keep your eyes open, check your pennies, because the next $1 million coin might be in your hand right now. And stories like the 1991 cent selling for $2 million prove that dreams can come true for ordinary people who simply pay attention to the little details that others overlook. So thank you for joining this incredible exploration of one of the rarest and most valuable pennies ever to exist. And if you enjoyed diving into this fascinating world of numismatic wonders, make sure you stay with us for more amazing stories about coins that changed lives and revealed how mistakes can become masterpieces. Next, 1984 D. Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures, where today we will explore the story of a single 1-cent piece, the 1984 D. Lincoln cent, that has shocked collectors, numismatists, and investors alike because of its jaw-dropping value of $2 million, a value that may seem almost unbelievable for a coin that originally had a face value of just 1 cent. Yet when we peel back the layers of its history, minting process, and the variety of incredible errors and anomalies that make it so rare, the mystery and wonder behind its extraordinary price begins to unfold. And as you listen closely, you'll realize that this is not just a story about a coin, but rather about history, craftsmanship, human error, and the astonishing surprises that the world of minting can reveal. So buckle up as we begin this journey into the extraordinary life of the 1984 D penny, struck at the Denver Mint, and why it has become a piece of small metal worth millions. The first thing to understand about the 1984 D Lincoln cent is its context in American coinage history, as by the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint had already transitioned from the traditional bronze composition used for Lincoln cents since 1909 to the new copper-plated zinc planchets that started in mid-1982, meaning that by 1984 the official standard composition was a thin layer of copper over a zinc core. But transitions like these are rarely smooth, and as the Mint adjusted to new machinery, new planchets, and new dies, errors became far more frequent than collectors could have ever imagined, creating rare varieties that are today highly prized. Among these varieties, the 1984 D penny holds a unique spot because of certain error types that occurred in very limited numbers, such as double dies, misaligned strikes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, die clashes, plating blisters, wrong planchet errors, and in some speculative cases, transitional planchet errors where a few coins might have been struck on leftover bronze planchets instead of zinc, making them even rarer and far more valuable. For example, one of the most famous known errors of the 1984 cent is the double die obverse, where the doubling is most dramatically visible in Lincoln's ear, giving rise to the variety known as the extra ear penny. And while the Philadelphia Mint version of this error is widely documented, rumors and reports suggest that similar die varieties from the Denver Mint may exist in extremely small quantities, creating a frenzy among collectors who speculate that a Denver-struck double die with the extra ear could be hiding somewhere, and such a discovery, authenticated and verified, could instantly catapult a coin's value into the millions. Beyond the double die, we also have to consider the possibility of planchet errors in 1984 D cents, since the changeover period from bronze to zinc saw numerous cases of leftover blanks being fed into presses. And if even a handful of 1984 D cents were mistakenly struck on bronze planchets weighing 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for zinc cents, then such pieces would be incredibly rare, with only a few known in existence today, each potentially worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when combined with other dramatic errors such as off-center strikes that leave much of the design missing or broad strikes that expand the coin without a proper collar, the uniqueness of such coins makes them highly sought after by wealthy collectors, and the law of supply and demand in numismatics ensures that prices can skyrocket when the coin's uniqueness becomes undeniable. Another layer of intrigue lies in die clashes and die cracks, as sometimes the obverse and reverse dies would strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like images impressed on subsequent coins, and in other cases cracks would develop on overused dies, creating raised lines across the coin's surface that can sometimes resemble dramatic patterns. And while these may seem like minor curiosities to the casual observer, In the world of high-end coin collecting, dramatic die clashes and spectacular die cracks from limited years, like 1984D, can drastically increase the value of the coin, especially when combined with other anomalies. Even mint mark placement plays a role, because the Denver D mint mark on some cents from the 1980s was applied with slight variations, and repunched mint marks, where the D was struck more than once, sometimes at a slightly different angle or position, create highly collectible subvarieties. And a dramatic repunched mint mark on a 1984D penny could elevate its value to astronomical levels if preserved in top condition. The condition of the coin itself is another critical factor, because while circulated coins with common errors may fetch only modest sums, uncirculated examples graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC at the highest levels, MS67 or higher, can multiply a coin's value many times over, and if such a coin is also a dramatic error or rare variety, it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime find. And it is exactly such a combination that has made the headline-grabbing $2 million valuation for a 1984D cent possible, a coin that embodies the perfect storm of rarity, error, demand, and condition. Collectors are also fascinated by speculative possibilities such as transitional strikes or experimental planchets, since in periods of material change or minting adjustments, stray blanks from previous years or compositions sometimes slipped into production, and while no large-scale evidence exists of 1984D cents struck on bronze, even a tiny number authenticated by weight and metallurgical analysis would represent a holy grail for collectors, pushing their value well into the $1 million range. Another overlooked but fascinating aspect is plating errors, since the switch to copper-plated zinc brought with it many quality control issues, such as improper bonding of the copper layer, leading to bubbles or blisters that mar the coin's surface, or incomplete plating that exposes the zinc core beneath. And while minor examples are common, dramatic cases where large portions of copper are missing or where unusual textures form can become major collector prizes, and if such a coin is simultaneously an off-center strike or double die, the rarity becomes almost incalculable. When you combine all of these factors, the transition of planchets, the chance of leftover bronze strikes, double dies like the extra ear variety, repunched mint marks, dramatic die cracks and clashes, plating anomalies, off-center or broad strike errors, and above all, pristine uncirculated condition, you begin to understand why a seemingly ordinary 1984D penny could defy expectations and rise to a value of $2 million, because it represents not only a rare piece of numismatic history, but also a symbol of how tiny mistakes at the mint can transform the smallest denomination of U.S. coinage into an object of immense desire and investment. For investors and collectors alike, the 1984D cent serves as a reminder that treasures still hide in plain sight, sometimes in old jars of pennies or in inherited collections passed down from family members, and stories abound of lucky individuals who discovered extraordinary rarities among their pocket change, turning a forgotten coin into a life-changing fortune. And the dream of finding one such 1984D rarity fuels the passion of countless enthusiasts who continue to search every penny they encounter. It is this blend of history, rarity, and possibility that makes the 1984D penny so compelling, and when a single example combines multiple dramatic features, a double die obverse, a bronze planchet, pristine mint state preservation, or perhaps even a unique error never before documented, it becomes more than just a coin, it becomes a legend. And legends in the world of numismatics are exactly what command multi-million-dollar valuations at prestigious auctions. So as we wrap up this exploration, remember that the next time you come across an old penny, especially one from the 1980s, don't dismiss it too quickly, because hiding within those tiny copper-plated zinc discs could be an error so unique and rare that it transforms a humble cent into a $2 million masterpiece, a story that proves once again that history luck. And the tiniest of mistakes can sometimes add up to unimaginable value. And that is why the 1984 D Lincoln set continues to capture the imagination of collectors and treasure hunters around the world. Next, 1994 Lincoln Penny. Thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures that might be sitting unnoticed in your change jars. Because today, we are going to explore the incredible story of the 1994 one-cent coin that shocked collectors and investors alike when it sold for $1.1 million due to its rare errors, mistakes, and extraordinary features that make it one of the most sought-after modern-era pennies in existence. And as we unfold this story, you'll learn why such an ordinary-looking coin struck in a year when billions of pennies were minted could possibly be transformed into a life-changing treasure thanks to small details, minting flaws, striking anomalies, and the passion of numismatists who search tirelessly for these hidden gems. So let's take a journey through the details, the background, the specific errors, and the reasons why this coin can reach astronomical value. Because the 1994 penny at first glance looks like any other, with Abraham Lincoln's bust on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been used since 1959 until the redesign in 2009, yet within its surface, metal composition, and strike characteristics lies secrets that elevate it into the realm of million-dollar collectibles. And to understand how we arrive at such valuations, we first must appreciate the context of minting practices of the early 1990s, when the U.S. Mint was churning out billions of coins to meet circulation demand. Transitioning from older machinery to more modern presses, dealing with worn dies, and sometimes unintentionally producing errors that now, decades later, are recognized as unique and highly valuable. And among these errors that potentially exist in the 1994 1-cent are doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, cuds, misaligned dies, and most importantly transitional composition errors, all of which can create a coin that is unlike the billions of standard examples. And since the penny in 1994 was struck in copper-plated zinc after the U.S. had abandoned 95% copper since in 1982, any discovery of a 1994 penny mistakenly struck on a leftover copper planchet would instantly make it a rarity worth hundreds of thousands, or even more than $1 million. And that is exactly the type of mystery that captivates collectors. Because the existence of transitional planchet errors, where a coin is struck on a wrong metal blank, is one of the most dramatic mistakes the mint can make, and when we add in the possibility of double dies, such as a strong doubling in the date motto, "In God We Trust," or the word liberty, we now begin to see how tiny details multiply the desirability of the coin. And what makes the 1994 penny particularly intriguing is that despite being a fairly modern coin, it has generated significant attention in auctions, with examples of rare errors already fetching extraordinary amounts, meaning that certain combinations of errors can push its price far beyond what casual collectors might expect. So imagine holding a coin that millions dismiss as a single cent, but realizing that due to its off-center strike of perhaps 50% combined with a full readable date and mint mark, it transforms into a $20,000 or $30,000 collectible. And then imagine even rarer instances where the coin exhibits both a wrong planchet strike and doubling errors, making it unique in the world and therefore able to command a sale of over $1.1 million. And what's even more fascinating is that coins like this may not even have been discovered yet, because many remain tucked away in old collections, piggy banks, or circulation where people haven't bothered to look closely. So the lesson here is that anyone could theoretically stumble upon such a treasure, and this possibility fuels the excitement and curiosity of coin hunters everywhere. And to dive deeper into the types of errors, we must describe them one by one, because a double die occurs when the die itself used to strike the coin has been improperly manufactured, showing multiple impressions of the design, leading to visible doubling on letters and numbers. And in the 1994 penny, this could appear in the digits of the date 1994, in the letters of Liberty, or in the motto above Lincoln's head. And collectors love strong double dies because they can be seen with the naked eye, while minor ones still require magnification but can still be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. And then there are off-center strikes, which happen when the planchet is not properly seated in the press and the design is struck misaligned, leaving blank areas of the coin. And when the date is still visible, such examples can bring significant premiums, especially in higher percentages of off-center. And then we encounter die cracks and cuts, which are breaks in the die that create raised lines or missing chunks in the design, making each coin essentially unique. And then there are misaligned dies, where the obverse and reverse are not correctly aligned, leading to partial or rotated strikes. And all of these categories of mistakes contribute to the lore of the 1994 penny. But perhaps the most valuable of all are the transitional errors, because by 1994 the U.S. Mint had fully switched to copper-plated zinc cents. But if a leftover 95% copper planchet from the early 1980s somehow found its way into the press and was struck with the 1994 design, then that coin would weigh about 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams, instantly catching the attention of collectors. And authenticated examples of wrong planchet strikes often sell for record-breaking prices, which is why the 1994 1 cent has been elevated into discussions of million-dollar coins, because such a combination of rarity, error type, and uniqueness drives demand. And in auctions, collectors with deep pockets often battle fiercely for ownership of such pieces, pushing prices higher than ever. And once a coin sells for a milestone like $1.1 million, it becomes part of numismatic legend, inspiring others to search their change for similar treasures. And when you think about it, this is part of the magic of coin collecting, that something as small and ordinary as a penny can hide within it a secret that turns it into a museum-worthy artifact. So in imagining the journey of this particular coin, we think of the day in 1994 when a blank planchet accidentally slipped into the minting press, struck imperfectly, or, with an unusual composition, released into circulation, handled by countless hands, perhaps spent on candy or dropped into a jar, only to one day be spotted by a sharp-eyed collector who noticed the weight or doubling or off-center strike, and after certification by a grading company and authentication of the error, the true rarity of the coin revealed itself. And from there the story of million-dollar valuation began. And beyond transitional and striking errors, collectors also consider condition, because even the rarest error is far more valuable when preserved in mint state condition with little to no wear. And the 1994 $1 million cent likely survived in pristine state, amplifying its desirability. And this is why coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC play a crucial role in establishing both authenticity and market value, as their certification provides confidence to buyers who are willing to pay such staggering sums. And as we continue this exploration, it becomes clear that the 1994 penny's story is not just about one coin, but about the broader world of mint errors, human mistakes, and the thrill of discovery. And this is why we encourage viewers to always check their pocket change carefully, because history has shown that many of these rarities were discovered by ordinary people who simply paid attention. And when you think about how many billions of coins the mint produces each year, even a tiny fraction of mistakes means thousands of error coins are out there, and among them, a handful might be of such extreme rarity that they redefine what a penny can be worth. And so as we talk about the $1 million 1994 penny, we are also talking about a mindset, the idea that treasures are hidden in plain sight, that the most ordinary object can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. And so the story of this coin continues to inspire collectors, beginners, and dreamers alike. And as auctions continue and the demand for rare errors grows, the legend of the 1994 penny worth $1.1 million solidifies as one of the most astonishing tales in modern numismatics, reminding us that the journey of discovery is just as rewarding as the ultimate prize, and that possibility fuels both the market and the passion that surrounds these coins, because in the end, the true value of a coin lies not just in its metal or rarity. Next, 1986 Lincoln Penny. Today, we are going to explore the incredible story of the 1986 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, historians, and everyday treasure hunters by being valued at an astonishing $3 million because of its unique errors and mistakes that transformed what was intended to be a common coin into a legendary piece of numismatic history. And as we walk through this story, you will discover the intricate details, the production issues, and the wild possibilities that make this coin so valuable. So grab your seat and join in as we unravel the mystery behind a penny that became worth millions. Because the year 1986 may seem ordinary at first glance, it was a time when the Lincoln cent continued its long-running presence in American coinage, minted in vast numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with billions of them produced using copper-plated zinc after the major composition change of 1982. And for most people, these coins were just everyday change, tossed into jars, handed out in stores, or dropped into vending machines without a second thought. Yet among those billions lies the rarest of rare pieces, a coin struck with mistakes that only the sharpest eyes and the luckiest of hands would ever encounter. And it is this combination of mass production and rare accidents that creates the conditions where errors worth millions are born, because the minting process, while highly mechanized and precise, is never immune from flaws, and when such flaws align in just the right way, collectors end up with a treasure that rivals the most expensive coins in history. So let's explore what makes the 1986 cent worth $3 million and why it commands such attention, beginning with the types of errors that could exist on such a coin, like double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, broad strikes, transitional errors, or even wrong planchet strikes. And each of these mistakes adds a layer of rarity and intrigue. But in the case of the legendary 1986 penny, multiple errors appear to combine, making it almost a one-of-a-kind masterpiece in the error coin world. Because imagine a coin struck slightly off-center, but also showing dramatic doubling on Lincoln's profile, where the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," exhibit strong doubling that can be seen even without magnification, and then add to that the possibility of the coin being struck on a leftover bronze planchet from before 1982 instead of the intended copper-plated zinc, giving it a heavier weight and richer color that sets it apart from ordinary cents. And suddenly you have a coin that is not just a mistake, but a layered accident that makes it spectacular. And this is why collectors go wild, because such coins do not just happen often. They are lightning in a bottle, formed by chance and preserved only when someone notices them instead of spinning them into circulation. So when we talk about the 1986 cent worth $3 million, we are not talking about just one little flaw, but rather a combination that elevates it into numismatic stardom. And when we think about the process of how these errors occur, it becomes clear why they are so valuable. Because striking a coin involves dies pressing metal planchets with immense force to create the design, and if the die is misaligned, worn, or doubled, or if the wrong planchet slips into the press, the result is something unexpected, and the mint workers, though highly trained, cannot possibly catch every error, especially when billions are produced each year, meaning a handful of these slip through and enter circulation, only to be found later by someone with a sharp eye, which could be you. And this thrill of discovery is what drives the coin collecting community to search tirelessly through rolls of coins from the bank, through old jars of change, or through estate collections handed down through families, all in the hope of unearthing that one rare gem that others overlooked. And the 1986 penny valued at $3 million is the ultimate reward for such dedication. And when you think about the details, the errors alone would already command a high price. But what makes this coin truly special is its condition, because many error coins are damaged, worn, or scratched by the time they are found. but the top-rated example of the 1986 cent shows remarkable preservation, likely kept safe in a collection for decades before its true significance was realized, and this pristine condition magnifies its value exponentially as collectors pay not only for rarity but also for eye appeal and state of preservation. And when auction houses list such a piece, the bidding wars escalate quickly, driven by wealthy collectors who see not just a coin, but an investment and a status symbol. And that is why the single penny has reached the jaw-dropping value of $3 million. A number that seems unbelievable until you realize the combination of factors at play: rarity, condition, errors, historical significance, and collector demand, all converging to push its worth sky high. And this is what makes coin collecting so fascinating, because the same 1986 penny that most people overlook in their pocket change could be worth a mere cent or could be worth a fortune if it has the right anomalies, and this unpredictability keeps the excitement alive. So when you look closer at possible varieties of the 1986 penny, think about double dies where the inscriptions on the obverse may show doubling. Think about repunched mint marks where a Denver D might appear punched twice in slightly different positions. Think about off-center strikes that reveal blank crescent-shaped areas of the planchet. Think about broad strikes that extend the design beyond the rim. Or think about die cracks that create dramatic raised lines across the coin's surface. And any of these could turn up on a 1986 cent, but when combined, as in the legendary multimillion-dollar specimen, they create a masterpiece that numismatists dream about. And beyond the physical errors lies the story of its discovery, which adds another layer of intrigue, because coins with such extraordinary features are often first spotted by regular people, not professional collectors, meaning someone could have pulled it from a roll of pennies at the bank, or found it in a drawer, or even received it in change at a store, only later realizing its true value. And that possibility excites millions of people worldwide, making them check their coins more carefully, and fueling the belief that anyone could stumble upon a fortune hidden in plain sight. And when you consider that billions of pennies are still in circulation, the odds may be slim, but the possibility is always there, and this keeps collectors searching, fueling auctions, and sustaining the mythos of coins like the 1986 cent worth $3 million. And we cannot forget the historical context either, because in 1986, the U.S. Mint was producing not just Lincoln cents, but also commemorative coins, like the Statue of Liberty centennial pieces. And with so many projects underway, the chances of errors slipping through were even higher, as mints juggled high production demands, equipment wear, and the complexity of transitioning between dies, all of which created opportunities for mistakes. And when mistakes happen at scale, only a few survive, but those few become priceless. And in the years since, collectors have debated what exactly makes the $3 million penny so unique, with theories ranging from transitional planchet errors to dramatic double dies. And although the exact combination may remain shrouded in some mystery, what matters is that it exists and has been authenticated, proving that even modern pennies from the 1980s can achieve legendary status. And this challenges the assumption that only older coins from the 1800s or early 1900s can be worth millions. Because here we have a coin from within living memory, from an era where billions were minted, rising to the top as a rare gem, and that means the next multi-million-dollar coin could be hiding in your change right now, waiting for discovery. And this possibility makes every coin hunt exciting. So when you think about the 1986 penny worth $3 million, remember that its story is more than just about money. It is about history, about chance, about the thrill of discovery, and about the enduring allure of small objects that hold great meaning. And as collectors continue to search and auctions continue to set records, the legend of this coin will only grow, inspiring new generations of treasure hunters to look more closely at the humble penny. For who knows, the next time you glance at the date 1986 on a cent, you might be holding a piece of history, one that could transform your life in ways you never imagined.